Charged with a crime I didn't commit, I'm living in an RV after being arrested with a 300K bond. I didn't do it, I insisted, but my past as a nonverbal autistic kid came back to haunt me. Now one witness claims to have seen nothing. Can I finally clear my name? I do not know how to begin this, but I need help. I have been accused of something terrible. I will provide you with some background so you understand what is happening. My mother operated a babysitting service at our house. One morning, I woke up and went to see my mother. The living room is situated across from my mother's room, so I had to walk by there. The children usually slept in the living room. That is when I noticed a girl who had not been with us for about 2 to 3 months. I do not know where she went. My mother had been babysitting her for about 3 to 4 years, so she grew up with us and we were close. I observed that she was oddly positioned on the couch, so I lifted her up and moved her. Afterwards, I went to check on my mother, who was folding clothes. At that time, her right hand was not functioning well, so I was assisting her around the house. That day, her hand felt better. I asked if she needed help. She said, "No, look," and started moving her wrist slightly back and forth to demonstrate that she was fine. After that, we had a brief conversation and I departed. Subsequently, I prepared myself a sandwich. We live in a small house, so the kitchen is right next to the living room. I began looking to see if any children needed help in any way. For everyone's information, there were 6 children in that living room. 2 of them were toddlers. They were awake and watching television, while the other 4 were asleep at that time. I checked to see if the toddlers needed milk, and I provided them with milk or a snack. One of them was a bit older and loved snacking. After that, I checked on the other 4. They were sound asleep as comfortably as possible on 2 couches. I ate my sandwich in the kitchen, and before I went to my room, I checked on the kids once more. I saw that the girl I had moved earlier had shifted to the edge of the couch, so I moved her again, but this time she awoke. I apologized and asked her if she needed anything. She said she wanted her blanket, so I gave it to her. I then asked if she wanted her tablet. She had that tablet or iPad for a long time. I cannot remember exactly, but I think she could make calls on it because she had WhatsApp, though I am not certain. She said yes. The other children were doing well. One of the toddlers fell asleep, and the other 3 were asleep as well. At that moment, I thought they were all asleep, but apparently they were not. I went to my room to play Elden Ring or whatever I was playing at that time. My mother finished what she was doing and came out just as I was leaving. That was essentially the extent of our interaction with the children. If my mother did not call for help, I remained in my room. My mother's hand had improved, so she did not require assistance, and my sister arrived shortly thereafter. That was the first and last time I interacted with that girl. A full day passed without incident, and her father came to pick her up. Some time later, her mother arrived and started yelling at my mother, claiming that I had touched her daughter inappropriately and had shown her my private parts. I will spare you the swearing and crude language. I told my mother that I did not do it. Afterwards, the parents and the daughter went to the doctor. The doctor confirmed she was fine, and afterward they filed a police report. A police officer came to my house and asked questions. I told him the same thing, that I did not do it. I was nervous. It was, understandably, a police officer, and then he left, giving me his card and stating he would be in touch with us. After that, everything became a blur. Child Protective Services came by and spoke with us and the children who were present during the incident. They asked us and the children questions. Later, I discovered that they did not even question the children who were there. They asked a mere 4 questions. This will be important later. After that, I went to speak with a detective. I reiterated that I did not do it again and again. He inquired about my past, which included an incident with a teacher a long time ago where they took advantage of me and twisted it to get me into trouble. I was a nonverbal autistic child, so it was not difficult to deceive me as I was unaware of what was happening at the time. Now it is too late to take action. Anyway, I spent 2 hours explaining this to him. I believe I was reasonable. I mean, if that were my child or nephew, I would want justice. However, at the time, I was very gullible. When the detective asked if I was willing to take a lie detector test, I agreed without hesitation. I did not know much about them back then, but I now realize it was just a lot of nonsense. I saw a lawyer discussing it on TikTok who stated, "It does not matter. If they think you are guilty, you are guilty." So I walked in, and they attempted to create a false scenario to either ease me in or intimidate me, I suppose. They told me they had someone scheduled for that day, but at the last moment they canceled on them. Even though the detective and I had arranged for this day days prior, I do not know. It was absurd. After 7 hours of interrogation, the individual administering the test became angry, extremely angry, and told me I was not performing the test correctly. I am on the autism spectrum, but I am high-functioning. Even so, I do not do well with yelling or confrontation. Regardless, I never admitted doing anything inappropriate because I did not. I simply stated I was playfully interacting with them as an older brother would. If you have ever had an older brother, then you understand what I mean. They later reported that I did not clearly deny it, but I had for 7 hours. After all of that, they requested my phone. I could have said no or go away, but I had nothing to conceal, so I handed it over. All I had was a collection of TikTok videos I had saved over the past 2 years. That was how long I had the phone, which took 1 to 2 hours more. I felt lost without my phone, so I could not leave until they were finished. It is ridiculous. I had lived for 19 years in this town, and I could not even tell you how to get to McDonald's. But surprise, surprise, they found nothing, and consequently, they did not include anything regarding my phone in the report since I had nothing to hide. Now, yes, I should have hired a lawyer, but I did not think it would escalate this far. I was foolish and arrogant. I believed I was invincible and thought that if I told the truth, everything would resolve itself, but that was not the case. A few weeks passed before the detective called me. He stated that he wanted to speak with me at my house. I felt anxious, but I remained. I was naive and gullible. When I arrived, police officers surrounded my house. It was a calm arrest. I did not resist or become angry because I struggle with emotions and such matters. Fast forward 3 months in jail, I had to reduce my bond. My original bond was $300,000. I do not remember how much it was reduced to, but it was sufficient for my family to bail me out. However, I had to wear an ankle monitor and was prohibited from returning home since the victim and her family lived in the same neighborhood. Therefore, I had to reside with my aunt and uncle. The first few months were tolerable, but as time passed, I began to feel unwell. I constantly felt miserable and could not bear to look at their faces. Each time I did, I felt as though they were judging me. I could not even step outside my room because I felt so awful. It was not pleasant. Honestly, I have only managed to endure this length of time because my family continues to encourage me and reassure me that everything will be fine, but I do not know. So 8 or 10 months passed, and my aunt and uncle indicated that it was time for me to leave. I do not blame them. I felt like a burden in their household, taking up space and doing nothing while sinking into despair. Thus, I had to move into a small recreational vehicle, wondering what would come next. And apparently there was a bomb scare outside the alleged victim's family home. It was insane. Naturally, detectives arrived and spoke to me. They searched my RV but found nothing, which was hardly surprising, right? I informed them that I had an ankle monitor and that they could verify my whereabouts. After that, they followed my brother because I was working with him and they again found nothing. It's unbelievable. Anyway, there was a widespread rumor that his in-laws claimed he was involved with a drug cartel, but that is all alleged. Returning to the story, my lawyer informed me that the plea deal offered was 10 to 20 years of probation with lifetime registration. I thought all hope was lost until a couple of days ago when my lawyer considered interviewing one of the children who was present. Apparently, the Child Protective Services officer did not adequately question him, as when my lawyer asked him about the alleged incident, he stated that he was awake during it and saw nothing occur. It sounded promising, right? Well, my lawyer mentioned that since the child could not precisely recall the date, it remained uncertain, so my mother would need to testify that he was there. My lawyer and I have discussed my mother testifying numerous times. Yet even then, he is not confident that we would win. My lawyer mentioned that there was another offer on the table that would result in 6 years of probation and 10 years of registration. I swear, the law can be a ridiculous game of chicken. Here I am a year later with proof that I did not commit the act, still pondering what I should do. Story 2. I've battled a storm inside me since childhood, feeling like my mind had no brakes. Now I embrace my emptiness, realizing it's not a curse but a guiding spark. In silence, I confront my buried demons. Maybe this ache is leading me home to who I'm meant to be. 4/6/2025. I am not certain who this is intended for, perhaps just for myself. However, at times, it feels as though the world does not truly recognize how diligently I am striving merely to exist, to remain grounded, and to continue pushing forward. If you have ever experienced a sense of something quietly resonating within you throughout your entire life, this may resonate deeply. Even though I have started to learn how to simply be. Even though I have been occupying my time with joy and purpose. Even though I have finally gained the ability to find peace in my mind for the first time in my life, allowing myself to sit in tranquility comfortably, just being as I am. Willingly, openly, gracefully, tenderly, peacefully. For the first time in my entire existence, I am at ease with my loneliness. Yet I still feel the emptiness within. I continue to feel lonely when I am by myself. Even though I have been making an effort, learning, growing. Being intentional, skillful, and mature. Even when confronted with pain and suffering. Even when faced with anger and frustration. Even when circumstances do not make sense, and when it seems like the true strength of my endeavors is invisible to the world. Like the genuine energy, pain, sweat, tears, and blood that have gone into it. The power and resilience I must persistently exert to maintain my sanity and continue functioning. That is what will never be acknowledged, forever obscure. I am okay now, really truly okay, inside and out. Yet I still recognize that lost sensation deep within, but it is not that I am troubled by it. It is a quiet determination. A peace I have discovered within myself, even when the environment surrounding me does not reflect it. I do not always require others to see me, to understand me, or to validate my truth. Yet sometimes the silence that accompanies this reality is louder than any words could convey. I cling to my own strength, knowing that this journey is uniquely mine, and I carry it with grace and dignity, even when its weight feels overwhelming. I do not always carry it gracefully, it is graceful chaos. But still, I ponder whether I will ever genuinely feel that deep sense of emptiness. Perhaps it is a space that cannot be filled, a void that is not meant to be complete. Maybe it is just part of the process, something I have to learn to carry with me without anticipating it will disappear. I have been reaching for many things, attempting to fill that gap with purpose, connection, peace, and love. Some days it feels as though I have succeeded, as if I am drawing nearer. But on other days it lingers, ever present. I have come to accept that the emptiness is not something to remedy, fear, or be concerned about, but rather a part of me learning to coexist with all else. Maybe it is a reminder that I am still human, still evolving, still growing. Perhaps it is not an indication that I am broken, but rather a part of me that is shaping something stronger, something more genuine. Even if it never entirely disappears, maybe it is simply part of the journey towards becoming who I am meant to be. The emptiness does not need to be judged. It is merely a portion of me finding its place among everything else. Perhaps it is here to remind me that I am still becoming, still unfolding. Maybe it is not a flaw but a space that harbors potential, truth, and authenticity. Even if it remains, perhaps it is part of what is shaping me into who I am destined to be. I no longer view the emptiness as something wrong. It is simply a facet of me that quietly resides alongside the rest of the beautiful chaos that encompasses my life. Perhaps it is not meant to be filled, perhaps it is meant to guide me. It reminds me that I am still growing, still learning how to be. Maybe it is not brokenness but a process of becoming. Even if it persists, perhaps it is here to help lead me home to myself. I am learning to be comfortable with my discomfort. It is as if I have adapted to this unusual state of being comfortably numb at times. There are moments when I can physically feel it deep down, inside my soul, in my stomach. It radiates through my chest, my body, like a weight that is always present, yet somehow does not crush me. Initially, it felt like a foreign, unsettling presence, but I now understand it is not something I should harbor in a negative, feared space in my heart. It is not a sign that I am spiraling or falling apart. It simply exists, a part of me that remains in the background, a feeling I have had to stop resisting. I have ceased trying to push it away, erase it, or make it vanish. Yes, it is a disturbing feeling, but it is also mine. Instead of panicking or clinging to the hope that I can rid myself of it, I am learning to come to terms with it. It is just another piece of the puzzle, and as much as I may not desire it, I recognize that it does not define me. It exists, and I am here, and somehow we are learning to coexist. Perhaps this restless depth, this inner turbulence, the silent storm inside me, the eternal hum within, my unseen burden, this subtle ache, maybe this presence is simply a call from within, a yearning that craves deeper purpose, longs for the unknown. Perhaps this is what I am meant to feel. Maybe this is what needs to propel me forward. I have always felt this way deep down, for the longest time. As if I am simply not meant for this world, this timeline. As if I am destined to be elsewhere, engaged in something with greater depth, meaning, and purpose. Something that would truly fill this void within me. Something that resonates with who I truly am. Something that aligns with the essence of my being, not merely what is expected. It feels as though I have been waiting for a sign, or perhaps waiting for myself to comprehend what all of this is for. And maybe, just maybe, I am beginning to see that this ache is not a curse. It is the spark, the fire that will propel me toward what I have always known deep inside. And perhaps that is what all of this has been leading to, not the eradication of it, but the understanding, the making of space for it, the coming to peace with it. Because I am beginning to realize that this ache, this hum, this storm, it is not going anywhere. But neither am I will not give up. And I understand what that signifies. Sometimes the silence that accompanies this reality is louder than any words could ever express. It is astonishing how that kind of quiet can shake you to your core, how the absence of sound can still resonate powerfully. It is not the silence that comforts, it is the silence that confronts. The kind that compels you to face the things you have buried, the questions you have yet to answer, the feelings that have never found a place to land, the unsettled demons that were left unforgiven and untouched. The unresolved closure that never closed. It occupies an internal space where everything lives, and yet nothing. Unfiltered, unspoken, raw, sometimes that silence feels more intense and pronounced than any vocal or physical noise could ever be. I recall something my mother told me once. I was perhaps 2, 3, or 4 years old, very small. I approached her and said, Mother, sometimes my mind just keeps racing and racing and going and going and going, and it never stops. I was quite an intense, energetic, and enthusiastic child. Yet still, how did I already sense it then? Even as a child. That internal storm, that constant whirlwind. It is astonishing that I have felt this way for so long, even before I had the words to articulate it. It is as though this part of me has always been present, growing alongside me, evolving into new forms but never truly departing. And perhaps that is the essence of it. Maybe I have been carrying this presence all along, waiting to confront it with understanding instead of fear. Perhaps it is not here to destroy me but to guide me. And now, after all these years, I am learning to sit with it, not to combat it, silence it, or flee from it, but to coexist with it. To allow it to be a part of me without permitting it to define me. Simply being. And perhaps that is not something to escape from. Maybe it is something to run towards. Perhaps it is the path to a new journey I am destined to undertake. Maybe this is simply who I am. Story 3. My quiet strength. Was I born this way, or was it life's chaos that sculpted me? As a child, silence felt safer than chaos. Years later, my calm is now a shield, and my emotions just whispers of a soul shaped by experience. What truths lie beneath your silence? Is personality a creation we inherit or a sculpture we endure? Since the dawn of time, humans have sought to understand what shapes them from within that elusive entity called personality. Is it a seed planted in our genes from the very first moment? Or is it the shadow of experience, drawn across the walls of our soul over time? At every moment of awareness, invisible forces collide within us, inherited impulses from our ancestors and scars etched by our lived experiences. Between these two, personality is born, not rigid, not fluid, but flexible to the point of contradiction, strong despite its fragility. This text is not an attempt to provide final answers, but rather an invitation to those bold enough to truly reflect on themselves. Inheritance, the first imprint. We are born carrying in ourselves a hidden load of traits we did not choose but that chose us. From features to tone of voice, even our instinctive reactions are rooted in genetic codes, ancient instructions whispered through bloodlines. A child may be born calm or temperamental, without any explanation other than the silent voice of deoxyribonucleic acid. Evolutionary psychology supports the idea that some aspects of personality such as sociability, sensitivity, and adaptability are innate. But is that all there is? Of course not. Then life happens without mercy. Every moment, every wound, every betrayal becomes a sculptor's tool that completes what nature began. The child whose voice was never heard grows into an adult screaming silently. The one embraced with warmth steps into the world with a confidence they cannot quite explain. Life does not build us from nothing, but it activates what is hidden. It amplifies certain traits, silences others, and here personality begins to form, not as a solid mass, but as a mosaic of feelings, thoughts, and reactions. The truth is, personality cannot be reduced to one cause. It is like a tree. Genetics are its roots, experience its branches and shade. One cannot exist without the other. You might be born quiet but shaped into a poet by solitude. You might be born hot-tempered but learn compassion when your words wound someone you love. No personality is fixed. It grows, hardens, softens, and is reborn again. That is what makes us human, not repeated copies but ever-evolving stories. Personal reflection in my own voice. I have often wondered, am I who I am because I was born this way, or did life, with all its intricate details, mold me into this person? Was my calmness innate, or did I choose silence because I learned early that noise does not save you and loudness goes unheard? I was a quiet child, not one to cause chaos or demand attention, but I felt deeply. I did not like being alone, I just preferred silence, as if words betrayed me or exposed my fragility. Over time, I did not change completely. I simply became less visible, more silent. My emotions remained, but buried beneath layers of adaptation, awareness, and caution. I learned not to ask, not to explain, not to justify myself. I learned solitude does not always equal loneliness, and that silence can be the final form of strength. I used to think these changes were just phases. But now I understand my personality did not arise from nothing, nor was it gifted fully formed by genes. There were moments, traumas, unspoken pain I had to swallow because no one understood. Sometimes I laughed at matters that hurt because that was easier than admitting I was wounded. I started building an inner wall, not to hide behind, but to live within. A wall no one can see, but one that shields me from collapse. My silence is no longer weakness, it is a weapon. My calm is no longer comfort, it is armor. My personality is not a spontaneous decision or a genetic accident. It is a delicate interaction between what was placed in my blood and what collided with my soul. Maybe I was always sensitive, but experience carved a mind that does not break easily. Maybe I was drawn to peace, but now I guard my silence from the chaos of the world. I am not a victim, nor am I invincible. But today I know who I am. I know why I have become this way. I am not what others expect. I am what I chose to be when survival left me no other choice. Similar personalities, different stories. Personalities may resemble each other, but stories never do. You may meet two people who avoid crowds, speak softly, and prefer solitude. One may have been born this way, the other shaped by trauma. One grew in silence, the other fled into it. A cold, unreadable face may seem naturally distant, but might be someone who learned not to cry because no one listened. Life does not always change the core of a person, but it reshapes the edges. It carves, twists, softens, and hardens, just like a stone, the same material but molded by different blows. Genes may provide us with a frame, but experience lights the fire. The sensitive child may become a poet or a numb adult depending on what they endure. The flexible girl may become unbreakable, not by choice but by necessity. A final reflection. There is no final answer. Personality is neither just deoxyribonucleic acid nor merely experience. It is the intimate dance between the two, nature and nurture, instinct and environment, what is inside and what is outside. We are born with emotional outlines, yes, but we do not stay the way we were born. We change not because we are weak, but because we adapt. We protect what is left of us. We grow what we need to survive. So do not judge someone by what you see on the surface. Sometimes what you witness is not a trait, but a defense. Are emotions just feelings or reflections of who we are? We often categorize what we feel: sadness, anger, comfort, fear. But what if our emotions are not fleeting visitors? What if they are voices of our hidden selves? When you are sad, is it just a moment, or a neglected part of you begging to be heard? When you erupt in anger, is it just a reaction, or a buried identity tired of being silenced? Psychological theories suggest we are made of multiple inner selves, not just one. Each carries its own story, emotion, and need. Together, they form the fabric of who we are. Perhaps we do not live inside one personality, but a group of versions of ourselves. Each emerges at different times depending on context and memory. The child inside, the strong one who never cries, the tired one who keeps smiling. Every emotion is a window, not just a response, but a message. Ask yourself, why do you really feel this way? Have you ever wondered why your anger is so quick to flare? Is it really about what just happened, or is it pain that never healed? Have you convinced yourself you are fine, or have others said it so much that you started to believe it? You know deep down something is not right. You feel a quiet ache that no one sees. Not everyone in pain needs therapy. Sometimes all we need is to sit with ourselves. To ask, why do I feel like this? To admit, no, I am not okay, but I want to understand. Understanding is sometimes the first step to healing, and peace comes not from ignoring the pain, but from holding it gently. So ask yourself now, what are you hiding beneath your silence? What truth remains unspoken when someone asks, how are you? Are you your emotions, or are you becoming what you needed to survive? Maybe it is time to sit with yourself, not to find one answer, but to understand everything you have buried. Some questions are not answered with words. They are answered when you finally stop, listen, and face who you truly are. That is where the real story begins. Story 4. I found my wife of 8 years sexting random men on Snapchat. When I confronted her, she said it was a stress reliever. She deleted the app, but now we barely speak. I feel betrayed and am tempted to leave without a word. Should I stay and fight or make my exit? I discovered that my wife of 8 years has been using Snapchat to message and engage in sexting with multiple men. For several weeks, I began noticing signs that my wife might have been concealing something. The warning signs were consistent and repeated. We know each other's passwords to our phones, and occasionally we'll use each other's phones for various reasons. The first indication that something was wrong occurred when we were in the car with her driving. Her phone was connected to the car, and her group chat with her friends from her college classes was buzzing with activity. I could tell this because their names were appearing on the car's monitor. This situation had happened numerous times before, during which I often grabbed her phone to read the messages aloud to her and respond if necessary. However, this time when I picked up the phone as usual, she quickly snatched it from my hand and read the messages. I recognized this friend group because I was able to partially read the text, and they were discussing grades from a test that day. The next incident occurred when we were driving a few days later and traffic started to back up. Again, with her phone connected, I wanted to check what the Waze app was saying about the traffic. This time she did not snatch it from my hand, but she was quick to inquire about what I was doing. The third and final incident was the day I learned the truth. We were in the bedroom discussing the schedule for the day and needed to ask our teenage daughter about her plans. After calling her name and receiving no response, I grabbed my wife's phone to have her text our daughter to come here. Similar to the first time, she instantly snatched the phone, asking what I was doing. I informed her that I was simply getting her phone so she could text our daughter since my phone was in the other room. That is when I sensed that something was amiss. Later that day, when we were about to leave the house, my wife and daughter got into the car while I checked to ensure the house was locked. While doing so, I found my wife's phone sitting on the couch. I will fully admit that I was waiting for an opportunity to see what was happening. I did not need to look deeply. As soon as I unlocked the phone, Snapchat was open, and I saw a list of men with whom she had been chatting as recently as that morning. After seeing this, I quickly turned off the phone and went outside. I did not confront her that day or night due to it being a special occasion for our daughter. The next morning after waking up, she could tell that something was wrong. After a few minutes, I finally told her that I had seen her Snapchat and knew she had been communicating with other men. To her credit, she did not deny it. She appeared calm and remorseful as I broke down. I asked her several questions, and from what I could gather, she answered them honestly. For example, me how longs? Her a few weeks. Me, are they men you know or just random men from Snapchat? Her random men's. Me, do they know you are married? Are they married? Her, some know I am and some are. The most significant question I asked was why? Why do this? For added context, this was not the first time she had done this, just the first incident during our 8-year marriage. Why engage in this behavior again after all this time? Her response was that with school, work, and other life challenges, it served as a stress reliever and she was, in a sense, addicted to the extra attention. After talking for about 2 more hours, we left the conversation at that. Some may say I am foolish for this, but she deleted her profile and app from Snapchat. We both want to work on the relationship. I want her to demonstrate to me that she will communicate with me when she starts feeling stressed about things. She requested that when we are in the car, we commute together to work and school 4 days a week. We spend that time away from our phones, playing games, watching TikTok, etc., even turning off the radio to enjoy each other's company. I told her I could definitely do that because I admit I often spend a lot of time playing games on my phone while we are in the car. She drives most of the time because she dislikes my driving. I concluded by stating that I am extremely hurt, and this will not dissipate overnight, so I need her to put in the extra effort at the outset, to which she agreed. After the conversation ended, I had to go to work a second job on weekends. I left feeling hurt but hopeful that things would work out. While I was at work, I received an I love you text, which I didn't initially see due to being busy, but I did respond when she called shortly after to tell me something about our elderly neighbor. That night, however, when I came home, she was awake in bed but did not speak to me as I entered. I waited a minute before taking a shower to see if she would say anything, but nothing was said. This all occurred yesterday. Then this morning, we both woke up and again there was no greeting, just silence. We got ready and left for work. During the 25-minute car ride, we barely said a word to each other and sat in silence. Throughout the day, no conversation took place, except for a 20-second phone call in which she informed me she was done with work and heading to class. At the end of the day, she picked me up, and again there was no attempt on her part to engage. I asked her about work and school as I usually do, but received very brief answers instead of her typical detailed recounting of her day. When we got home, our daughter surprised us by having dinner ready. We ate dinner in silence. After dinner, I took a shower, and when I finished, I remained in the room while drying off. She came in, lay down, and quickly fell asleep, all without saying a word. I will admit that I felt uneasy about everything, so I went through her phone a second time. This time, I did not find any other means by which she was communicating with other men, but I did discover something that upset me even more. In our conversation yesterday, I asked if any photos had been sent, and she responded yes. When I looked at the recently deleted files, I saw the photos she had sent. It was distressing to see the pictures, but what hurt even more was that some of them were photos I had requested as her husband while we were apart on trips, and she had refused to send them. There were also screenshots of some messages sent. None of the messages mentioned me, but they were time-stamped and dated during periods when I was home in another room giving her time to study for her test. Because of that, I feel somewhat deceived since I asked if anything like that happened with me next to her, and she said no. After all of this, I am in the living room trying to decide what to do. Should I stay or leave? Part of me wants to walk out of the house right now without saying a word. My parents are out of town on a trip, and we are watching their house so I could go there. My daughter would not know the difference since we both leave for work before she wakes up for school. I feel inclined to leave and turn off my phone so she can worry and feel the pain of my possible departure. What are your opinions? Should I leave, stay, or discuss with her how I feel about the last day? Is it even worth it? In summary, I caught my wife sexting random men on Snapchat. I confronted her and she apologized, deleting her account and the app. We agreed to work on the relationship, but she has not initiated any conversation since. I am debating whether to leave in the middle of the night without saying anything to try to scare her.